Hey, this is Judy Walker coming to you from the Crack House, that's spelled Craic, in Lutz, Florida. And I'm expecting a guest, Larry Munyon from the Surrattsville Senior High School alumni. And we're going to have a chat. And this is just to remind folks that this is during the pandemic. There's Larry Munyon. Hey, are we practicing Safe Six?
I tell you, Dick, you're looking a little strange over there.
I couldn't find my glasses, so I had to get my Grouchos on.
Okay. Do you feel safe
It's me.
taking your mask off?
Hey, I like that painting behind you. Did your wife do that?
No, it's a artist that it's a Memphis artist. It's
Cool.
we've got like 4 of her pieces, and she actually shows in Paris and Atlanta. She's
Good.
got a reputation, but yeah, we like her. She's sort of a contemporary artist.
Yeah, I like her style. As you probably know, one of my hobbies is photography, and in order to be a good photographer, you have to know something about art. So I've taken some art history classes and taken some painting and pottery classes and stuff like that. So anyway, that's you're looking like, don't feed me this bullshit, Walker.
Just listening.
Yeah, you're a good listener.
Judy, are you back here?
No, she's crutched her way into another room for some reason. She's gonna come in and say hello.
Okay.
Well, she's been painting Christmas ornaments for the family.
Oh, good.
And so she come crutching in. You're gonna have to be careful there.
I know.
We've got a green screen here.
Walking in Richard's office is like an obstacle course.
Here, let me turn this.
Hi, Larry. How are you?
Hey, Judy. What'd you do to yourself?
I'll make it really short. Last year, I got sick. I was throwing up and really, really weak. So I decided, well, it's not that far to the bedroom. I'll just like crawl because I didn't want to fall. In the process, I bent my foot backwards and broke some bones, tendons, a whole bit. Had to have surgery. I was about 3 months. I was on a scooter. 2 of the pins broke in my foot.
Oh, geez.
So they had to go in, July, redo it. He put more pins in and fused some bones. I had a splint, a cast, a scooter, now a crutch.
And a boot.
And I've probably got about 2 or 3 more months to go.
Oh, boy.
What an ordeal this has been.
Let me tell you what happened to my wife. I think it's been a while now, last summer. Our number 2 son lives pretty close to us. And in their garage, they had a tornado shelter built.
Oh, wow.
It's one of these ones where they cut a piece out of the floor in the garage, and there's a metal thing that goes back and forth, and you go down in the
Right.
down into the shelter.
Like a safe room.
And, our son Kyle and his wife Stacy, they were out of town, and he called up Jan and said, will you go over to the house and make sure our sprinkler system's turned on? So she went over there. He didn't have the sliding thing locked. She stepped on it, and it went back, and she fell into the tornado shelter.
Oh my gosh.
She broke some ribs, broke her foot,
Mm.
and on the left side, and did some damage to the right side. But she she felt lucky that she was even able to get out. I mean, it was really pretty serious, but she was in a wheelchair for about a month, and I had to learn how to do the wash.
Richard's doing everything. He did it last year. Now he's doing it again.
Anyway, I learned some things I never knew how to do before.
Probably never wanted to learn how to do.
Larry, you can join the male wife club.
Richard's going to be a good wife by the time this is over. Is she okay now? Did she all heal?
She still has some lingering problems in her good knee and some stuff but I'll tell you one more story. This was a typical week when I was carting her around, chauffeuring her. So, one day we go to get her hair done downtown. That took most of the day.
Right.
Another day I had to take her to get her nails done. Another day I took her to get her eyes done. And what was the fourth day? Anyway, there were 4 of the 5 days which I was taking her to beautification kind of things. So anyway,
that was for her morale, not yours, right?
Well, I could tell she was getting pretty bored because Jan likes to get out and everything, and she was pretty much homebound. So it's rough. I sympathize with you, Judy.
Well, it's kind of been convenient that we have the COVID thing because I can't go anywhere anyway. So yeah. I'm a little afraid right now that I'm on a crutch and the boot. I've got another month of this. I'm just afraid to go out by myself, like drive because. Yeah. When I had the scooter, I absolutely couldn't go anywhere because I couldn't get out of the car to get to the scooter. But I drove. Richard had to have a tooth extracted, and I did drive one day. Drove him home, but it's not fun. No. Not fun at all. Was she able to get herself up and call you or an ambulance or something? She must have had her phone with her.
What happened? Her son Kyle has 2 sons. And the younger one, he's in college now, but he was a senior last year. He was upstairs in their house playing some video game. But, of course, he couldn't hear her because she was down in the garage in the tornado shelter. But luckily, a friend of his came over to see him.
Oh, wow.
Dan saw him, and she sort of yelled to the friend who called Grayson upstairs, who called me. So I went over to gather her up and take her to the emergency room.
Well, after this happened, we bought the Apple Watches, not the ones that you can talk, it'll connect to your phone, but it's not like a phone by itself, but it has a thing in it if you fall, because I fell several times on the last time I went to the doctor on the scooter. I went out the front door and it had been raining and I went right into the rose garden, went to the doctor with 2 bloody knees where I fell. But the watch, when you fall, it comes on and say, "Are you okay?" or something like that. And then it calls whoever you have in there. They don't answer, it calls 911.
Jan has an Apple Watch. She's never mentioned that feature, so I don't know if hers has that feature or not. She can talk on it, but you don't think you and Jan are the one taking falls. Let me tell you something that happened to me. I've got neuropathy in both my feet and my legs, which affects your balance. And about a year ago, I was just this happened a couple of times. I was on my porch. I've just bent over and just fell over sideways into the bushes. And it's one of those things, apparently your legs and your feet send messages to your brain about balance. And since all that,
the brain doesn't answer.
It probably doesn't hear. It's all part of getting older, I guess. We all have things.
Older? What's that?
Were you able to get up by yourself?
Well, after I fell in the bushes, after I dug all the limbs out of my skin and everything.
It's funny. I mean, I look back and it was really funny when we had gone to Paris not too long before I hurt my foot. And when we were in Paris, I sort of bent my foot a little bit and it was bothering me already. So I think I did the initial damage in Paris and just really
walked on it. We walked and walked and walked.
But now my foot's probably a pound heavier with all the lead or it's titanium, I guess. And it's just a mess. I look at the x-rays and it's like, I can't believe that's my foot.
That 1 week in Paris, I lost 7 pounds.
Walking.
Just walking.
Do you have any more planned places you want to go, or
not until I can walk?
Yeah.
We would like to go to Ireland. I'd like to go back to England, but I don't, unless my foot gets a whole lot better. You know, I
Yeah.
mean, I see people doing it in a wheelchair and all that, but I just can't imagine doing that.
No, that wouldn't be much fun.
No, no.
I was waiting for you to come on. I was doing what do you call it? A Google Maps street view. And a friend of ours from England who runs the B&B where we stayed is a landscape photographer, and he posted a picture, and I wanted to find out where he took that picture. So I'm driving through this on this B road, and it's so narrow. It just brought back all the horrible memories from the tension that I had driving, you know.
And all the damage he did to our little car.
I did almost $1,000 worth of damage to the car.
Have you ever been to Europe? You know, their roads are about this wide, you know, they're narrow.
Well, the only time we've been, well, I went over there once on business. I was in Germany when I was working, and you know, spent a couple of weeks over there like that. And then Jan and I had never been out of the country. So when I came back, I said, next year, you know, that we're going to go overseas, her and I. So we flew into Frankfurt, and we went to Heidelberg, went to a town, Rothenburg. And then we went to Munich and based out of Munich and took some tours like to Salzburg and down to Neuschwanstein, some places. So that's the only time Jan and I have actually been on the ground over there. Now, we did take a couple of med cruises. We flew into Barcelona once, and out of there we were able to hit Monte Carlo and let's see, what's the town in the southern part of France?
Marseille.
Yeah, went to Marseille, then we hit Rome and Florence and
Naples.
that was fun in Naples. And then we took another one. We flew into Venice and took a cruise out of there. And, you know, we went to Greece and Croatia and stuff. And that was good too. So that's our experience overseas.
That's pretty good.
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
I've been to Germany a couple of times. My son was stationed in Stuttgart, so I went over to see him a couple of times. And we've been to England and Paris, and we've been to Scotland before we met. But I love England. I would just love to go back over there.
Our ancestors are from the same place in Scotland.
Yeah.
Would you believe that?
So you guys are going to talk about cremation?
No, we don't have to talk about that. That was
no, you misunderstood. I said claymation.
Oh, okay. It's nice talking to you, Larry. I feel like I know all you guys. I've met quite a few people from Richard's class. I don't know who. We went on a cruise one time. Was it that with your class?
Yeah.
That was long.
Yeah, we went to Bermuda with a class.
Yeah.
You know, if she's not careful, she's gonna get back up into the green screen and disappear.
Look at this. To Vermillion, that's really good. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll listen to you guys chatter, so be nice.
Okay.
Hey, hi, Judy.
No more swear
Bye,
words.
Larry. Nice talking to you. Richard, this is
What?
I'm gonna fall in your office.
Well, don't.
So I don't come in there.
I'm very gratified to see that you look very healthy and you're happy. Oh, what? I didn't know you had clowns in your house.
Just got back from the grocery store. How are you?
Okay. Hang on a second. Judy, can you crutch in here and meet Jan?
His office is a obstacle course. Hi, how are you?
Let me
I'm
move this up.
Here, thank you.
You want to sit?
No,
How are your feet?
I only have one that works.
Just one foot?
Yeah, the other one is, well, I started in July. I had my second surgery on it, and I still have a month before I go back to the doctor. I'm in a boot, but I can't put much weight on it, just a little bit. The first surgery, some of the pins broke last year. So they redid it in July. And hopefully when I go back in a month, he's going to let me walk. He had to fuse some bones and put more pins and a plate in it. So the bone has to fuse with the pins and everything before I can put weight on it. So it's.
Yeah, the doctor's actually waiting for her bones to
Yeah.
grow over the metal
Yeah.
that he put in. so he doesn't have to take it out.
Yeah, the metal's gonna be there for a long time, so.
And unfortunately, as we get older, things take longer to heal, so.
Yes. Well, we can't go anywhere much right now anyway, so it's, the timing couldn't be better.
Well, good. So
Thank you for popping in. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's good to see you.
Nice to see
My
you.
pleasure.
Look at it.
See, I have to make sure you can't see all of my office. That's what the green screen is for. And I have to tell you this, it's super hilarious. I feel like Harry Potter with a invisibility cloak. Oh. It's Judy found it. It's an apple green 9x12 tablecloth. And I just strung it up, and I've got my what do you call it? I've got my photo lights up there. Judy graciously coughed up some money from her After Richard kitty and bought me this 27-inch iMac. It's a lot faster than my old iMac. My problem now is the internet's too slow. So
I bought I had an iMac, I think it was the 2009 model. And it really worked fine, but I just felt like getting something newer. So I donated that to a church friend, and I bought a Mac Mini, and bought a 32-inch display to use with it.
great.
Anyway, it's, like I said, the other one it was fine, but I just being an extra.
How's the Mac? What year was the Mac Mini?
I just got it last year.
Oh, good. Did I bet you, since you how should I put this? Let's put it this way. Do you have the Apple TV for your big screen TV?
No, we don't.
You use the smart TV hub?
Well, we have, I think we have, let's see, let me count. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 6 TVs for 2 people. Our biggest is a 65-incher upstairs. And most of the newer TV, then we got a 49-inch Sony down here, the 2 main ones, but they all have, the ability to connect to Netflix and the Prime, and we have
Right.
Amazon Prime. And at one time we had about 5 different streaming services, of which, I told you we need to get rid of some of these. We hardly ever visit some of them, but
Yeah.
so we do watch a lot of stuff on Netflix and Prime, and the other ones that we
Yeah.
use.
You would I guess you would see the logic in this, since we're both sort of Anglophiles. I know you're French. We subscribe to 2 subscriptions on Amazon. They are Acorn, which is British, and trying to remember the other one. Anyway,
With the BritBox.
BritBox, yeah.
Yeah, we had that for quite a while too.
So we watch almost exclusively British TV and PBS. Oh, we even got a PBS Masterpiece subscription, which we like a lot. And we haven't been on Netflix hardly at all, because I don't know. I like the softer European, there's too much tension in our country right now. I don't like a lot of bloody, scary movies and stuff like that. So, I've got enough scariness in my life. I don't need to be reminded of it. As a matter of fact, there's you probably have seen it. The British quiz show called QI with Stephen Fry or Sandy Tosvig. It's a panel of 1 moderator and 4 comedians, and they just cut up, and it's very, very intellectual. And they what do you call it? They have one what's Davies, Alan Davies. He's the sort of like the permanent guest, and he acts out but they have such interesting, fascinating topics where they ask questions of the panels, and the panel has to, come up with a reasonable intellectual answer. If not, they get buzzed. It's like the Gong Show. And anyway, it just ends up, we end our day with QI, and it makes us laugh and go to bed peacefully. We even say goodnight to each other.
Look at it.
One of the things that I wanted to share with the people who might watch this, and I think you and I talked about this a little bit, was I hate to call it estate planning, but if you got money, you do have to plan, have a will and that sort of stuff. But a lot of people don't have a burial plan. And, and one of the cautions that I wanted to throw out to you and the rest of the class is that we very early got our arrangements, trying to think what you do when you get cremated, our cremation, the company got sold and they didn't pass our records along. So we checked on something and they didn't know who the hell we were. And that's scary. And so I think what's going to happen with all of us baby boomers, walking off the earth, we're going to have companies coming and going, selling us services and then going away.
Well, Richard, we had copies of receipts. I got it all straightened out.
I know, Judy, I know. No, we did our due diligence and we showed them our receipts. So, but I have a burial plot in Albany, Georgia, rather than, how should I say, rather than allocate my body some space, they said, oh, well, we're just going to hold since you're so young, we're going to hold your money. And I don't know what they reserved. So I paid $300 or $400 for a burial plot in Albany, Georgia, and I have no clue where they're going to put me. So I can go free into the National Cemetery here, just north of Tampa.
Dick, you could probably sell that lot. It's probably got some value if you own it.
That's a good idea, but I'm not sure I can prove I own it. I just have to go to them, and I don't know if Crown Cemetery, Albany, Georgia, is still in the same hands.
Well, Dick, I always worry about prepaying for things also.
Yeah.
We paid, I can't remember the exact, it might have been like $7,000 a piece, for the whole, the niche and all the services and like say we were to die out of state and they had to ship our body back. And
right.
It was a fair amount of money, but it's probably more by now.
Yeah.
But I did check on the policy. It's sort of a nationally known firm, and the actual funeral home where we bought it is in the same town we live in. So I mean, they're still there and they're still operational. I think we're okay, but
family-owned business.
Well, it's been there. They've got a couple locations in the Memphis area. I mean, it's it's legit, but you never know about those kind of things. And there's a retirement community right up the road. And it looks really, it's not finished, but they have full-size homes. And I don't know what these cost, probably a lot of money. Then they have some, I call them like duplexes, but they're sort of joined, but they look like they're separate. And then they're building a high rise and they have 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom. And then of course there's all kinds of meeting areas and there's water flowing through this. I mean, it looks like it's going to be excellent. But that's one of those things also, if you get in there, there may be no control over assessments where they might decide, they need more money one year and they want to, we've never really checked in it because, we've got a home that's, is more than adequate for, what we're dealing with like that. But those are things to be considered.
Yeah,
Whether you sink a lot of money into something, you don't want them to go bankrupt or
right, right.
whatever.
Well, you know what's really interesting is we bought a modest, I don't know if it's 16 or 1900 square feet. It's a really small lot, and we've refied and got our payments down to, and so we were talking about, well, what is Judy going to do when I pass off or pass on? And her son used to live up the street. That's why we moved into this neighborhood, but he had to move towards Orlando. So rather than us move over there, I'm suggesting to Judy that she consider renting out one or two of these bedrooms here that she doesn't need, in exchange for lawn mowing or enough money to make sure everything is taken care of with a handyman and stuff like that. And the reason is that the rent of apartments is going up so much that you can't get any kind of space at all for what we pay in mortgage fees. So anyway,
we're in pretty good shape. The keys to retirement, I think, are having no mortgage and having your children out of the house. And of course, we when I retired, we paid off our house. We have no mortgage.
good for you.
Which is a biggie. And of course, both our sons have they've been on their own for a long time. Dean's 51 now, and Kyle's 47. They're both very successful. So our backup plan is in the worst case scenario, they can take care of us. And so
That's called Social Security.
yeah, it's funny that the kids are thinking about something when they contact you, say, well, do you have your powers of attorney up to date and everything? And which I do.
Yeah, definitely.
Look at it.
As I mentioned the other day on the phone, my hobby is life writing, and I'm trying to learn how to write an autobiography. It's been a tough road because I didn't realize that the money for the people who teach this type of writing is all in memoirs, and I wasn't Googling memoirs, but it turns out that that an obituary is like it's a little, how should I say, it's not as fat as it's not a resume, but there are important pieces of information that need to be included in an obituary, and I thought I'd share them with you. I know your dad had done some really great work. I'd like to hear that again. But if you go on legacy.com, which is I think it's part of ancestry.com, they give a lot of hints on how to write obituaries and what to expect when somebody passes away and things like that. Very, very helpful. But the thing that people don't realize is that after you're gone, the obituary connects you to your parents and your children, and it gives your dates of life and death and places so that your death record can be fit in genealogically with the correct people. Like I can't tell you how many Richard Walkers there are in the United States. I mean, even with my in my battalion in Germany, there was 2 Richard Walkers. There was the smaller one was the communications officer, and I was the engineer officer. We were called Big Dick and Little Dick. to this day. Anyway, I just, I'm going to post on our mini reunion page some more of the class obituaries. And I know some people can't afford to have information, you know, published because they charged by the word. But I just regret, after doing genealogical work and reviewing a video that I did of my dad, who gave me his whole life in an hour, I missed a lot of stuff for his obituary, and his basic permanent record published in the Washington Post was flawed, and I'm just regretful. Now you told me that your dad did some genealogical work and some autobiographical work, right?
Look at it.
Well, yeah, my dad spent 10 years doing the genealogy, and he handed over to me a footlocker full of research. I mean, it was incredible. You know, he visited grave sites. He extensively researched census records. Also, you know, the Mormons are big on genealogy. The Latter-day Saints, they have information.
That's ancestry, right? Then.
No, you know, the Church of Christ Latter-day Saints actually has a genealogical.
A research center. Yeah.
Well, you know, genealogy is big to the Mormons.
Oh yeah.
And apparently some of the things I think they believe in, that you can pray your ancestors into heaven. There's a bunch of reasons like that. But anyway, the Latter-day Saints are a major source. Census records are a major source. Corresponding with people. My father met a lot of people who he would correspond with. But anyway, he had so much research that he had all these offshoots, you know, like, you know, you get way off and somewhere like that. There was so much information when I wrote the book for him.
Look at it.
I just did the mainstream because it was too complicated, you know, to do all the offshoots like that. So anyway, you know, my family has the Munyon book, and you know, of course, there's the 6 of us, and but the obituary is, you know, I did my dad's, and I cut it down from 45 pages to about a column. When, you know, something you could afford for a couple $100. And, you know, I just highlighted, you know, where, you know, normal stuff, where he was born, you know, his being in the military, a little bit about his service, who he was married to, his children, and the day he died. So, you know, that's most of it, you know, that's sort of the ones I've read, you know, this, you know, it's mainly, you know, where you're born, where you died, who you were survived by. And
right.
if you want anything done, if there's anybody who wants to donate anything, what do you want done with the money? So it's,
right.
You know, it's, I'll have to let my boys write my obituary if they want to, if they even care.
I'm not going to let my kids write mine.
Oh, really?
No. They just don't know me well enough. They're going to say, "Oh, Pop's gone. Bye, Pop. Have a good trip."
Well, there's only probably a few people who care reading about us anyway. So,
well, no, that's what I'm fighting. I think that we have lived super interesting lives. I mean, being first in line of the baby boomers, we've lived through a lot of different things, just like the Great Generation. I was going to mention that I looked up on military web pages and found, I guess you would call it a military biography of General Tubner and this other guy, Ed Munyon, and they were superlative. They were excellent. I would like to see the one you wrote for your dad, and And I understand, you know, you just can't write a biography. It has to be condensed. But at least it gives the genealogical connecting points so that there is a permanent, you know, these days, if you get cremated and you don't have a gravestone, you're going to be in a niche someplace.
Hmm.
And, you know, you have no, well, let's put it this way. Some people have like I had a friend of mine, her boyfriend died and he wanted his ashes spread over the Gulf of Mexico. Well, he has no geographic focus point for his kids. And when my mother died and my father sold the farm, we felt dispossessed. We felt like orphans, you know, because he had no family center, geographic center. I just thought that was fascinating to me.
Apparently, the greatest of all the Munyons was Alfred Munyon.
Oh yeah.
He was born in a covered wagon. His parents were Basil and Mahala, and he would travel between the state of Missouri and Washington Territory. And on one of the trips,
What was this, pre-Civil War?
yeah, I'd have to check the dates. It was in the 18 somethings. So
Yeah.
yeah, it might have been after the Civil War. But Basil was killed. A gun went off in one of the wagons in front, hit him in the head and killed him.
Hmm.
Anyway, on there were multiple trips, but Alfred was born in a covered wagon. He was he would have been my great grandfather. He was the father of Willard Munyon, who was the father of Edgar Munyon, who was the father of Larry Munyon. But anyway, in Marceline, of course, they pronounce it Missouri. In Marceline, Missouri, there's a burial plot, and Alfred's in it. He's got a big center stone, big pillar, and a lot of the lesser Munyons are buried in a circle around Alfred. Now, my father's buried in Florida, you know, and we're going to be in niches here in the Memphis area. But you know, so it's I might have I probably have my father's obituary, but I also wrote a story. I was contacted by the West Point, and there's a West Point magazine for alumni, and they wanted me to write a story about my father, which was published in the West Point Association of
Yeah.
ex-cadets or something like that. I think I've got that. I'll send that to you. It's not real long, but
I'd love to see it.
yeah.
Well, one of the ways you learn to write good memoirs and biographies is to read them.
Richard,
Hang on.
I have
Yeah.
a question for Larry.
Judy's asking if the research your dad did with the Latter-day Saints Research Center, I guess it's in Utah, if there was a charge for the research that he did there. Did he go there? Do you know?
No, he didn't go there.
But he was doing it online.
I don't know how he did it. He probably wasn't. It probably wasn't online. I don't think he had a computer.
Yeah.
But here's what I think. My dad was fairly tight, like I am,
With money.
with a dollar.
Yeah.
So I can imagine him spending a lot of money. Like I said, he spent 10 years doing this. I mean, it wasn't an easy task. And
But he did it all paper and pencil, right? I mean,
yeah, well, he had a little typer. He typed some of it, you know, and but you know, it's just a time consuming thing if you really
oh
if you
yeah,
really get into it. And
it's a hobby.
he got to a point. He's really solid. His research was solid. I would say maybe at around 1700 or so forth. And then there's a certain amount of conjecture.
Oh
But
yeah.
in that book, he's got a lot of land records, and the Munyon surname was spelled different ways at various times. Sometimes with an LE prefix, sometime with an LA prefix, sometime it was Munion.
Mm-hmm.
But you could sort of tell family members in the census records. A lot of the family lived close to each other. So if you get census records and you have one person, you might find a lot of other Munyons living around, probably children.
Right.
So he did a really excellent job of piecing all this together. Now he thinks we originated in the Isle of Jersey, which is apparently I guess it still is a British possession, but they were French people that lived on probably because of the persecution of the Protestants by the French
Right.
Catholics. And it gets a little iffy there. He builds a case for it, but it's really solid. And I think I told you when I wrote the book, I tried to include some of my own stuff to where, like, say we're talking about a Munyon that lived in Delaware. I would say, now this is the same time that Washington was crossing,
Right. Right.
you know,
Well, you
or
gave it some context.
yeah, sort of help you with the time frame.
Yeah.
Also, like something happened, I say, like, this is the same time when the Louisiana Purchase was made.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to add some of that stuff so anybody that read it, of course, the only people who are going to read it would be family members.
Or other researchers.
No, I don't know about other.
Yeah.
I only had like 8 copies made.
Right.
I gave one to each of my siblings, one to my dad, one to his sister, and I think I kept one or two. And I have one for both Dean and Kyle. Have one, but so there weren't a lot of copies because I had to pay to get it bound and everything and printed
Right.
and so forth. But anyway, it's a fun project. You probably, if you got into it heavy, as detailed as you are, Chooch, you could probably give up all your other hobbies and do nothing but
Yeah. Can't do that. I can't do that. I have a wife to feed.
Yeah. Well, plus also, you have the benefit of the computer, which would be
Oh,
very.
yeah. Well, 2 things. One, I was going to say, it's my understanding, and I may be wrong, that the ancestry.com is owned by the Mormon Church or a corporation funded by the Mormons. I could be wrong. They also are affiliated with that website that I talked about, legacy.com, that has the information. And I don't know how many copies were produced, but my great grandfather on my mother's side was an attorney for the family that started Du Bois, Pennsylvania. It was a sawmill community that built up to be a small city. And they hired him to write the history of Du Bois. And I ended up with a copy of the book. So it's probably one of the only ways that I know my great grandfather, other than a few pictures. And, I found some of actually, he was a land speculator, and he bought a piece of property on a hill in Du Bois in 1888. And shortly after that, he got married and had a house built. The house is still there, and it's still in the family, so to speak. And when Judy and I were up there to visit, we were invited in. We got to actually see where my mother was. Well, let's put it this way: my grandmother was a child and where she grew up. Yeah, there's all kinds of fantastic stories to share. Yes, dear.
I looked up ancestry.com, and it was founded by 2 graduates of Brigham Young, and it's headquartered in Utah.
Yeah.
So I would guess.
Yeah.
Probably
Judy's our assistant researcher. She just looked up. She loves to answer questions. She said that 2 graduates of Brigham Young, which is Mormon school, started ancestry.com. So it's
legacy, it didn't say.
Yeah, well, I found that out.
Dick, I think some of those things, they might produce some names, but you don't know anything else other than some names. So if you really wanted to build a story, you would have to take names and do research. So, I guess it would be a starting point, but I don't believe those services, like, say you said they come up with some relative. You probably would know nothing about that relative other than, there was some linkage to your family and what their personal story was. And
Yeah, well, I'm glad you said that.
Look at it.
yeah, apparently in the War of 1812,
Hmm.
the British invaded like that. They burnt a lot of churches and things.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of records were destroyed by the British, which creates some problems. And if your family was along the eastern seaboard somewhere,
Yeah.
so that's something my dad ran into also.
Yeah. So how early, what's the earliest family member, not the name, but the date that they were discovered here or they settled here in the United States? 1600s?
I would say later 1600s.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we've got pretty solid stuff on that, with the,
Yeah.
like I say, land records when property was bought and
Yeah.
sold and whatnot. So
That's the one thing that I have not used is land records. That means you'd have to find out what county they were in, and that county would have to have, property records in that person's name. So you got to have the right spelling and right dates and all that kind of stuff. I don't know how I would research a plat book from here.
I think, Dick, you ought to assign this project to your wife.
Hear that, Judy? You've been elected to take over. She's already done her own. Hers is already done. Her dad was really into genealogy, and yeah, before computers. So her family, the Pollocks, came into North Carolina and then moved to Georgia and then moved to Florida, and yeah, he'd go to. Plus, we have a cousin of hers in Carolina. He's really into genealogy and a slightly different branch of the Pollocks. So he's given a lot. But one story I wanted to share with you that you would appreciate. In the paperwork that Bill Pollock had passed on to Judy and her sister was 3 pages of onion skin typed. This was World War II or shortly after. It was, or her dad was a sonar man on a destroyer, the USS Summers, and he had these 3 pages that was like the deck logs of their ship. It started in the Atlantic with a convoy that went to England. Anyway, he participated in D-Day. They were in the English Channel sweeping for submarines and things like that. And then they went south around through Gibraltar and went over to Naples, refitted, and went back up south of Corsica, and then participated in the southern invasion of France. I'd never heard much of anything about the southern invasion of France, and that's where a lot of naval resistance was generated. And so what I did is I went to College Park, right across the street from Easton Hall, where we used to live. They have a new military National Archive, and I spent a couple days there researching what the deck logs of her dad's ship, and proved that it was a true and accurate document. That was fun.
Yeah.
There was some, Phil Foster, you remember Phil, don't you?
Oh yeah.
He shared with me a picture that he has of himself as a small child. You reminded me of this when you mentioned your pedigree with your great-grandfather and whatnot. It's his great-grandfather, his grandfather, his father, and him all in one black and white picture. I just thought that, now that's 4 generations, so that's pretty remarkable.
Has Phil banned any other classmates like he's banned me from communication?
Let's
Have you told,
let's not go there. I'm trying to get you 2 girls back together again.
have you told Judy that story?
Yeah.
That I thought I was making a joke when I told him I thought he'd moved to the dark side, and he hasn't communicated with me since.
Yeah. Well, he believes what he believes, and I acknowledge that he's authorized those beliefs. Mine are sometimes similar and sometimes divergent, just like you and I would not necessarily get along totally in politics and love and war. So, I much more value my relationship with you and Phil than to how should I say, poke him.
I'll tell you another story briefly and let you go. But years ago, one of our nieces was getting married, and we were down in Florida, and they're all from Louisiana.
Mm.
And Jan and I were at the party. I can't remember if it was before or after the wedding, and I had on one of my Alabama things there. Had a little red elephant on there.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, this is after Nick Saban left LSU and went to Alabama. Some woman came and she says, "You're not one of those, are you?" And I said, "You mean a Republican?" And what she was referring to was, "You're not one of those Alabama people, are you?"
Yeah.
That was sort of funny.
Yeah, you mentioned Nick Saban. When I was at Maryland, Nick, his dad, Lou Saban, came down from the Buffalo Bills to be our coach, and so he wiped out most of the coaches that were there and brought in new people. So I went back out, and this is my claim to fame. He took us, Lou Saban took a bunch of us to a Redskins game, and apparently they knew he was there, so they gave him a game ball, and he gave it to his wee little son, who was probably, I don't know, 10 or 11, and it was Nick.
Were they related? Because I know Nick Saban, I think it's from West Virginia, and I'm not clear whether Nick and Lou were actually father and son or not.
Well, you know what? I haven't tested it, but I certainly thought it was.
They got the same name, of course, which is a logical thing.
And same background, same passion. I think odds are it's very strong that they're father son.
Okay, well, I'll research that now.
Yeah.
I'll do a fact check on you.
Yeah. Well, I'll just go ask Siri or who's that other one we have? SABAN, I believe. Lou Saban and Nick Saban. She just loves to research.
Good.
Well, thank you, Larry. This has been fun.
Yeah, it has been. So I'll look for those things that you asked about and see if I've got in the computer. If not, I'll email it to you. And I think about the one I did for West Point.
Yeah.
And I'll go up there now and take a look and see if I can find that and attach it to an email, send it to you.
Super. We'll see you later, Larry. Thanks for coming on.
Look at it.